really, at the end of the day, it's just the matter of a macro market. It's just what happens.
That's why it's really important to have a plan. Have a plan and understand what your goals are.
In fact, my camel out there is suffering right now with a broken back.
So I actually found Pepe when it was only a couple of hours old, and I'm like, oh, this is a funny meme.
Oh my god.
Yo! Who is this degen?
The old man is swing trading over years at a time. And it's like, that's where the real money is made.
The answer is impermanent loss. With single-sided staking, you don't have to worry about impermanent loss.
If you're aware, if you're disciplined, you can hone that into further financial growth.
Financial freedom, to where you can actually live life and not have to be constantly living paycheck to paycheck. I mean, that's the ultimate goal, more or less, right?
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, crypto degenerates, ducks and squirrels, welcome to this here episode of the DGen Roundtable. If I was a clever goose, I would know which episode number it is, but I don't right off the top of my head. So I'm opening up YouTube right now so I can look at it. And it looks like I'm not going to get there in time. But that doesn't matter because we're here and we're going to bring you the motherfucking news and we're going to entertain you. And it's just going to be a great, grand old time. Tonight, I've got Zenith, I've got Brendan, I've got Agent J. And we're going to be talking about quite a bit of stuff. We're going to be talking about Robinhood, Solana, Kakashi Hatake, Vanguard, ARK, the Senate, Phantom, Sonic, and a whole bunch of stuff. Probably a little bit of Trump too there. So it's going to be a good time. It's going to be a fantastic time. For the folks at home who might not know you guys, can you go ahead and give yourself a quick introduction and tell the folks what's new and exciting with you? Starting off with my fantastic co-host, Mr. Zenith. What's going on, buddy? How are you doing?
Not much, just hanging out and having a good time so far on episode number 39 of the show for the Sunday show. I'm hanging out. For everyone who doesn't know me, I am one of the jack of all trades, but specialty, I focus on macro markets, TradFi, and then specifically governmental stuff and the courts / legal analysis, but not a lawyer, although I will try to give you not legal advice, as opposed to Will, who will tell you on the book club to go rob banks, and I can't remember what the other one was. It might have been commit tax fraud. Who knows? Regardless, don't do that. But at the same time, TLDR for this stream, I think, is going to be the 6 Hokage seems a bit lost after losing the Sharingan financially, and battle lines are being drawn to the sand when it comes to crypto and political stuff. And inflation numbers are still elevated, but people are somehow rejoicing over a 3.4% inflation number. We'll talk about that, all that, and more on the show. But for now, I'm going to pass it over to Agent J. What's going on, man?
Bro, what's up, man? I mean, look, if you don't know me by now, how could you possibly not know me by now? I am the resident great value technical analyst. You could find me at your local Walmarts everywhere. So I don't understand. if you don't know by now, I mean, come on, man. You must be bougie. You must be shopping at like a Sprouts or something like that for your technical analyst. But you know me, man. I'm just I'm staying on the charts. We called it pretty much on the nose, so I don't think I need to beat a dead horse, because we went over this on Sunday. We went over a little bit more on-chain data on Tuesday, and then by Wednesday, all of that kind of came to fruition. So yeah, we're pretty good. But pretty excited to talk about the stuff that we are going to be showing and showcasing tonight, because it seems like there's going to be a second week in a row of positive momentum for crypto based on what we got lined up for you. So looking forward to it. Mr. Bean, how you doing, buddy?
What is up? What is up, everybody? Very excited to be here. Flying in for another great show. Taking the F-18 in for a gun and run. So we'll see how it goes today. But we got some great articles. We got some great opportunities. And I'm excited. You know, I'm very excited about where we're going. I know, depending on what you're invested in, hopefully you're diversified. You're not all your eggs in one basket that's deep red. But, I like to buy depressions. So keep DCAing, in my opinion, keep DCAing in to those coins that aren't performing yet. And if you believe in them and you think that they will perform in the future, then there isn't a better time to buy now. When we were there 2 years ago in 2022, who was buying Bitcoin? Who was buying Ethereum?
We were,
right? And we were constantly being told from all the media outlets, from all of the normies, that we were going to lose all our money that we were putting into this crypto game. Turns out that it was a pretty good investment, and so I'm continuing to buy depressions, and very excited about where we're going to go over the next year, because everything is continuing to line up really well. Excited.
Excellent. Excellent. I'm excited to hear about it. And I'm excited for this next part of the show, your guys' favorite part of the beginning of the show. It's time for chat shout out. So, excellent. Thank you, Mrs. Producer. That's a lot better than my little shitty ass soundboard I got over here. I was gonna play the John Cena intro for you guys, but it sounds like trash coming through my little headset mic. So we'll figure that out at some point in time. But for now, I'm gonna read these chats that we got to shout out. Starting with Mr. Kenturian54X. What's up, D-Gens? Flying down to the coast to go see some family. I will catch the replay. Shout out to you, good sir. My pilot farmer tractor driving friend who just bought some kick-ass equipment with
man,
with the games
shout out
that he
to
made.
Kenturian, bro.
Yeah,
My man
dude,
could have
shout out.
spent his money on worse things, but he spent it on a new fucking tractor right into the business, baby. That's what I'm talking about.
Yo, I hope that he carves Gifford right into that thing, right on the side.
If you ask nicely, I bet the Gift Tech team would be happy to make some stickers and send him his way or something. We'll see if we can hook him up.
That would be kick ass. Excellent. So big shout out to Kenturian54X. Next up, we got Tam Tam. Hey fam. Hello, Tam Tam. Nice to see you. Our favorite Hexagon cheerleader. Always loyal, always showing us the good love here on the DJ Roundtable. Up next, we got Mr. Angry Twinkie. Lay it on us. Man, there's a meme. Something, baby, won't you lay it on me? Something like that. I can't remember. Forgive my shitty singing. But Mr. Angry Twinkie, he wants the news. He wants to know about Sonic. If you guys are interested, or actually whether you're interested or not, you need to go over to his and Boogie's little stream that they did. I believe it was on Boogie's channel. They talk a lot about the Sonic upgrade that's going on with the Phantom Network. So make sure you go give them a give that a little bit of a check out. We're going to be touching on it a little bit today, but they did quite a deep dive on it, and yeah, they did quite a good job. I was listening.
That was yesterday, right, Will? They did a stream yesterday?
I believe it was yesterday. I know that I caught it. I watched the replay after it had already happened, and I watched it yesterday. So I don't know when it went live, but something along those lines. You guys can go check it out. Go to US Crypto Boogie or something like that. If one of you guys would be so kind as to grab the link and throw it up in the chat, that would be fantastic. Whilst I do these.
Do want to give a special shout out to those boys, because Crypto Boogie has been Mr. Phantom and everything Phantom Chain for a long time. And then Twinkie also found some excellent alpha with regards to the Sonic upgrade and how it can be applied to the ETH chain. Specifically, you want to look at the part where it talks about Schema 3 versus Schema 5. It helps explain why the Sonic upgrade is going to be a new chain as opposed to a Phantom upgrade. The Phantom chain is still going to get upgraded, but it's not going to get the full upgrade, and it's possible that Ethereum might see that kind of thing happen. So go check out their stream. It has all of the information you can need.
Excellent. Definitely do that. Definitely do that. And I don't know if we haven't dropped the link in the chat yet, but Zenith, if you wouldn't mind grabbing that and then throwing it out in there. Sweet. Thanks, sir. And then Mrs. Producer, there's a chat from Moonpill that is not starred, the fractional reserve one. I'm going to go over that as well here in a moment after we're done with these other four. But next up, we got Mr. Chad Donner Schwanz. The Schwanz of House Donner has entered the chat. And that is absolutely right. The Schwanz. For those of you who don't speak German, he is being crude and fun at the same time. So good to see you, Chad. Welcome, welcome. Up next, we got Moonpilled Rational Optics. Wait, you're robbing banks now. My friend, we've been robbing banks since day one. I take my money out of my bank every time that I go and spend it. So I am stealing their cash. So ha 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 ha. Joke's on them. Next up, Hexagon lost in Asia, or Hexagon lost in Asia. Jay smoked a bowl, looks too happy. That's correct. Jay is doing nothing but smoking massive amounts of drugs over there. That's what he
No,
does
sir.
all day long.
I do not imbibe in any drugs or alcohol, senor.
Yep. Jay is clean as a whistle. Up next, we got Ramon Carrillo, a good IRL friend of mine. What is up, Ramon? Sup, fam? Right back on at ya. And then finally, Moonpilled Rational Optics. Attention, due to fractional reserve banking, the average bank in the United States will be holding approximately $528.38 cash or in cash at any given location. That is fucking hilarious.
You know what's also interesting? I don't even know if you can call it fractional reserve banking anymore, because they don't have to keep any
Zero.
reserves on hand anymore. So it is zero fractional banking.
Bro, it's been that way for like 4 fucking years now. Ever since I want to say it was like May of 2020 or May of 2021, something like that, during the great scamdemic, the great zombie virus of
Android
times long
19,
ago.
baby.
Yeah, the great Android 19. They removed the requirement for banks to have any sort of reserve on stash for the amount of money that they hold. So you can just print as much fucking money as you want. And as far as like how much cash they keep physically in their vaults, I doubt it's anything significant at all. I know that like the amount of physical cash in circulation is somewhere around like 2 to 3% of like everything. So anyways, that's what we got for that. The next part of the stream that we're going to be doing will be technical analysis, unless any of the panelists have anything else that they want to do. Looks like we're all good. So a quick little technical analysis for you folks at home. Basically, the way that it is we are somewhere in this zone right now. This is what it used to be. This is what it's going to be at some point. So boom, there's your TA. Oh, thank you, Mrs. Producer. So there's your guys' TA, right? We've got the time down here. We've got the price over here. This is just a placeholder number, but really the price can go to infinity. And then this is, this represents a circle-y time and stuff. So there's your guys' TA. Now you guys know what to expect. So that pretty much covers TA. Zenith, Jay, Brendan, if you guys have any questions, I would be happy to explain to you how Bollinger Bands, RSIs, resistance levels, Fibonacci's,
60-day cycles.
60-day cycles, 12 VMAs, other buzzwords and things. So yeah, if you guys need a class or anything, y'all can hit me up at www.idolotsofta.com. Just send me a message over there. Make sure that you send me lots of money though, because my time is very valuable and I can't just be wasting it on everything. So Jay and Zenith and Brendan, I'm going to kick it over to you guys to do any sort of ancillary or secondary or tertiary TA that you guys want to stack on top of that. Ready, set, go.
For sure. We're going to toss it over to Jay, but I think the major thing that I wanted to talk about today was that it looks like we might have a new candidate for Bitcoin 60-day cycle high. We just had the daily candle close, and we've gone a little bit down since we hit our high of about 67,500. So,
Yes,
Jay,
sir.
if you got the screen share, take us away, my man.
Absolutely. Let me go ahead and pull that up right now. Okay, so as Mr. Zenith mentioned, we are currently just shortly after the daily candle close. We are on day number 19 of the 60-day cycle with a new cycle high here on day number 18 at, let's see, let me get the exact 67,654. A little bit of a sell-off there. However, look, I'm going to be honest with you guys. Not much has changed over the past few days. If you want a very detailed technical analysis, we went over a deep dive on Sunday's episode. And like I mentioned earlier in the show, everything that we discussed on that Sunday episode basically came to a fruition. The final nail in the coffin actually was on last Tuesday. And I mentioned this was in the Telegram chat. So if you want the early alpha, you go into our Telegram chat. I gave an article from Glassnode speaking about the seller exhaustion as it reflects on the on-chain data. And I was like, look, guys, this is pretty on the nose. And it seems like this is the final nail in the coffin for the bears in the short term. And I wouldn't be too surprised if the momentum shifted quickly back to the upside. And on Wednesday morning is when we got that rally, right? So as you can see here on my chart, like I mentioned, we got a day 18 high here, and the momentum is still in the favor of the bulls. If you recall this channel that we spoke about over the last 2 weeks, actually, both on both of our last Sunday episodes, that we were waiting for this channel to be broken, whether to the upside or to the downside, and that will determine who still has momentum in the market. And because I was looking at all of those indicators that told me that we were coming to a point of seller exhaustion, I predicted that we were going to break to the upside, and that's exactly what happened. The bears tried to take control shortly, right? We had a few daily closes below that channel, but we once again broke strongly up above it, and now we are playing with a potential right translated cycle. But as always, we have to give the bears their due. So I'm going to give you both the bullish and the bearish price targets. Now, bullish targets first. It's pretty simple. Once price reclaimed the last local high here, there's not much left in terms of resistance for the bulls to take before we make a run to a new all-time high. Now, if we take a fib pull from our 73.5 all-time high, we can see that we are just now being rejected at this key 0.618 fib that is pulled from our all-time high to our swing low. That was our cycle low, the last 60-day cycle low, actually. And so we are now testing this 0.618 fib. If the bulls can reclaim this 0.618 fib and then make its way to this 786 level here at about $70,000, that would make it even more difficult for the bears to push down the price below to what most of them were calling for, which was that $50,000 level. So the next target for the bulls to take strong foothold within this current 60-day cycle is to reclaim this 618 level of 67,237, and then the 70,000 area at the next fib, which is that 786. So those are the two next areas that I am looking for. Otherwise, there's not much left in terms of resistance left for the bulls, right? We have the all-time high, but because it is a new all-time high, there's not a lot of resistance there. And so once the bulls can reclaim these two levels here, there's not much left in terms of barriers for us to go to. Hopefully by, I would say, late, probably if things play out the way that I believe they're going to play out, we're probably going to see anywhere between $80,000 to $90,000 Bitcoin sometime in Q3, and then probably $100,000 Bitcoin by Q4 of this year. The last thing that I wanted to go over here for the bulls, right, before we give our bearish targets, is you can see that on the RSI, we actually also broke above this 50 this 50 level on the RSI, which served as strong resistance prior, right? So this is the moving average that the RSI tracks. This is a 14-day moving average for the RSI. And you can see that over the length of time that we spent on this downtrend, that we stayed relatively below that RSI until we finally reclaimed it over the past week. So, not like I mentioned, not much left in terms of resistance for the bulls here, but a lot of work for the bears to be done. Now, one of the key things that we're looking out for, and this ties into the articles that we are going to be speaking about. I have to move this right here because this is on the wrong day. This should be on Thursday, the 23rd, which is this week. That is when the first of the final approval deadlines for the Ethereum ETFs are going to be announced, right? The decision from our good friend, Mr. Gary Gensler. And then before that, the FIT 121 bill is actually going to be heading onto the House floor for a discussion before finally heading to a vote, I believe sometime in June, which is next month. So a lot of exciting things. Like I said, a lot of momentum building up into this next week. So I am really, look, right now, the consensus is still about 50-50 between approval and denial, which is a lot higher than what it was a few weeks ago, right? I think a few weeks ago, there was less than 15% that were thinking that the Ethereum ETFs had a chance of being approved. But we're going to go over a few key things that have changed over the course of that time, why that is no longer the case. So a lot of momentum going for the bulls. Now, for the bearish scenario, let me go ahead and share a different screen here. Give me 1 second. Because I am going to do some Elliott wave analysis for the folks at home in order to show you the potential bearish targets for Bitcoin. All right. So if you were in the chat, you know that my bearish scenario for Bitcoin is this double flat pattern playing out, right? We have the first flat pattern playing out here. You have an A, you have a B, you have a C, and then the next potential flat pattern playing out here. Now, the easiest way, the number that I'm looking out for Bitcoin to get rejected at, if this flat pattern was to play out, is an expanding flat. Expanding because the bounds of this flat is expanding, as you can see here. Right? Which means the next level that I'm looking for Bitcoin to get rejected at is anywhere between $67,700 and $70,000, right? And the reason why the $70,000 area is key for the bears is why? Because 70,000 is a psychological resistance. You know that when I gave the bullish scenario, the $70,000 area was also the 0.786 fib pulled from our all-time high to our swing low. If you notice, that is also the 1618 extension of this entire move. That is also going to serve as key resistance for the bulls if they were to make a run for $70,000. So if we get rejected between the $67,700 and $70,000 area and rejected harshly, then that is going to tell me that we are headed back down to lower prices and that this pattern is more likely a XY, a WXY pattern, which is a long consolidating sideways pattern, which means we're probably going to spend the rest of May into early June moving sideways, if not lower. Now, I think the probabilities, if the bears were to take control back of this market, is that we move sideways more than we look for new cycle lows, right, in terms of price. And the reason for that is I want to bring your attention to the 111-day moving average once again, which has moved up from its 55,555 a few weeks ago. It moved up to 50 now, and now it has moved up to that $61,000 area. And so if bears were to try and take control of this market, if we get rejected around that $67,700 to $70,000 area and we come crashing back down, then that 111-day moving average is going to serve as strong support for price at $61,200. If we turn on the Bollinger Bands, you can also see that price is once again pushing the top of those Bollinger Bands, opening it up, and we are pretty comfortably above that 20-day moving average at 62,765. So the bears, even though they still have a potential to take control of this market, have a lot of work to do to push the price of Bitcoin back down below $60,000, which is why I strongly believe that even if they were to take control of this market once again, that we are going to spend the majority of time before the next impulse to the upside on our way to 80, 90, and $100,000 Bitcoin. We are going to spend the majority of our time going sideways because of these moving averages that historically, since the bull run has started, has served as very strong support for Bitcoin. Right? When we got that cycle low over here of 55,000, I believe this was 55.6, right? We wicked below the 111, but got bought back up, and we did not close below it. And right here, the bears tried to retest that 111 again, did not. It came close, but it did not even touch it, right? Let's go over to the weekly chart and see what we have in terms of support. 20-week moving average. Broken record here. You guys already know how I feel about the 20-week moving average. So I'm just going to reiterate it, that we are not going to have a close below the 20-week moving average until the macro wave 4 or the very next bear market. And that thesis has played out ever since I formulated it way back in mid to late 2023. Tested the 20-week right here during this wick, and now that moving average has moved up to 57.8. So even if the bears were to somehow break past all of those strong support, then that 20-week is going to serve as strong support once again over here, right? At that $57,805. So those are your targets for the bulls and for the bears. For the bulls, $67,000 and $70,000. That is your next target for the leg up. If we can reclaim that, then we are on the way to the new all-time highs. For the bears, you must first contend with both the 20-day moving average and the 111-day moving average between $61,000 and $62,000 before we can even start talking about prices below $60,000 once again. So that is all I have for TA. I'm going to go ahead and toss it over to Bean and to Zenith. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, anything to add.
Brendan, you want to take it away? I got two more. The stuff that I have to add is talking about Ethereum, Solana, and Cardano a little bit in comparison to Bitcoin. So I'll leave it to you first if you'd like.
I'm good. I mean, Jay covered a lot. I think that, every time the bears seem to be trying to take control a little bit, it seems like there's more pressure to the upside. And I think, what we're seeing is the first real pullback of this market, right? We were at over 70,000 and running up to like 74K. How many pullbacks do we have? How many large pullbacks do we have? Almost nothing, right?
Yeah.
So we've had a lot of strength. And actually what I've been saying, and Jay and a lot of people in this stream have been saying, is it would be really healthy to have a pullback that kind of, just chopped sideways for a while. So I think generally what we're seeing is really important stuff just to help to get the market a little bit more under control. And personally, I'd like a right translated cycle, 4-year cycle. And so I think that, us kind of chopping for a bit isn't necessarily a bad thing, especially if we want to continue to move up into 2025 and into mid 2025 potentially. Yeah. So I think all's good right now. And I think this is kind of what we were hoping to see a little bit. So,
yeah. Here's another key thing that I wanted to add before I toss it over to Z. You guys have to realize that the big dip that we had on our 60-day cycle low, right? That was a low, that was not caused by something inherent within the crypto market, right? As opposed to all of the dumps that we've had, even at the very beginning of the bull market, right? What happened with USDC depegging, all Silicon Valley Bank, all of that contagion risk that people were scared that would bleed into the crypto market, right? 2022, those big dips, all of those things that caused the market to crash were inherent within crypto. But this last one that we had was not because of something within crypto. It was because of macroeconomic, international risk of war, right? That was what really scared the markets. And so aside from that, we do have the regulatory uncertainty still with the SEC, but that's starting to slowly but surely clear up. So there's really nothing else. There is nothing else for the bears. There's no more bullets in the chamber, right? Strong bullets anyway, that could push us down to the levels that they're expecting. So, but that's all I wanted to add before I toss it over to Z.
I like it. All right, Mrs. Producer, if you don't mind, I have a screen share for you. Excellent. Alrighty, so here's my Bitcoin chart. It's probably very similar. The only thing I'd like to point out on this one is that I'm tracking the daily moving averages as my momentum indicators. So right now, the blue line here, that is our 20-day moving average. We are well above it and starting to come back down. We also did recently break through the 50 daily moving average, which is more of our middle-ish momentum indicator or middle time frame momentum indicator. And then as Jay was talking about before, this pink one or magenta right here, this is our 111-day moving average indicator. Both of the shorter time frames are well above it, and we've only broken down once below it during that time back at the beginning of May. And then additionally, we are well above the 200-day moving average indicator. So when it comes to momentum on Bitcoin, short, medium term, sideways, long term, slightly up and to the right, which is what we can expect from here. Over to the Bitcoin dominance chart, it looks like Bitcoin has actually still been gaining a little bit, which means that Bitcoin, in comparison to the rest of the market, is outperforming right now. We've seen it pretty much since our low here back in November, and then ever since then, this has been a Bitcoin market for sure. Moving over to Ethereum, this is one of the articles that we're going to talk about today is around the Ethereum ETF. But noticeably, on Ethereum, we've had this crossover in between two of the momentum indicators. So we have now had the 50 daily moving average fall below the 111 daily moving average. This is where we get a bit of a divergence in the signals here, which means that on a short to middle term, we're going down. On the longer time frame, the trend of the larger market is still to go up and to the right. To compare it to some other ones, Solana has definitely been outperforming. One of the ways you can kind of see this is also through the RSI, or Relative Strength Index. RSI right now is about at 61. The larger average is 53. For Ethereum, it is about 50 and 44. And then Bitcoin, 56 and 50. So Bitcoin is outperforming the market, but Solana has even been outperforming sometimes beyond that. And Ethereum, honestly, is the one that is lagging right now. This is the one that I will give it credit. It has defended that 2850 price support very, very well. But overall, compared to everything else, it is honestly the one that is lagging behind right now, which is curious because Bitcoin did have a ton of ETF hype for honestly over a year. But now we've been in the Ethereum hype phase for like about 4 months now. So my thinking was that we would maybe see a little bit more action, but we're not seeing it. And then lastly, one more comparison point throughout there, we'll go look at Cardano. Cardano is kind of more in the Ethereum camp as well. RSI is pretty low, and the momentum indicators we are well below in the short term, and the medium to long term indicator is also trending downwards as well. So the takeaways from this is that Bitcoin is still the dominant forces. And then there's honestly a mix of action going on with the rest of the L1s. And as we've seen in the past, it is a bit of meme coin season. And depending on how the larger assets move, you can see some very small underlying low market cap assets really run or dip. So be careful with any of the plays out there.
Yeah, this is the hardest thing about being in this market, right? Because predominantly, it's always going to be Bitcoin that moves first and moves the sharpest and moves the fastest, right? It's not really until the very late part of 2024 and then into Q2 of 2025 where we expect the altcoins to have their time in the sun, right? When they really start running hard against Bitcoin. Because for the most part, especially because of all the ETFs, against their Bitcoin pairs, even though some of these altcoins are outperforming against their Bitcoin pairs, the overwhelming majority of the market, they're still bleeding against their Bitcoin pairs, right? And so I know it's difficult, but you guys have to realize that Bitcoin still runs the show. I know 4 years might seem like a very long time to wait for your altcoins to run, but remember, once they start running, they run extremely hard, right? And the amount of excess that you get within such a short time frame, once Bitcoin has finally cooled off and handed the baton over to Ethereum and the rest of the altcoins below, higher down the risk curve, right? Like your patience is going to pay off, right? But it is about being patient, right? Because when these altcoins run, it is going to be in a much shorter time frame than Bitcoin and some of the larger cap assets, right? So just be patient, guys. We're almost at the finish line here.
We've been waiting 3 years for this.
Yeah. I mean, bro, like the XRP army, they've been waiting like 2 cycles and they're still holding strong. Come on, man.
You know what's fun? You know what's funny, Jay? Somebody asked me this week about some advice in crypto, and one of the things was like, what do you think about XRP this cycle? That I've been just hearing that XRP was supposed to blow up because of all the financial backing. And I'm like, well, that's what they keep saying.
Mm-hmm.
They keep saying that.
Yeah.
But for now, it's just kind of like a stable coin.
And
I have no doubt that XRP will have its day in the sun. However, as of now, it's kind of doing the Ethereum play, which is just kind of chopping along sideways, acting very stable, as you said.
Wouldn't that be something? Stablecoin, XRP.
Yeah, XRPL is the stable coin. That's the ticker for the stable coin.
Yeah. You know what's fun? You know what's interesting though? It's like I think the longer that Bitcoin
Fuck me, man.
You know
I got
what
one for the XRP guys.
You know what XRP and the SEC have in common? They like to take L's.
They suck.
There it is.
This one's an L.
But I think the longer that Bitcoin stays dominant and the longer that it continues to go up, I think that just means a harder alt season. I think that means a harder upwards movement for Ethereum and in other tokens that are built off those off that blockchain. But again, look, there's nothing bad about Bitcoin having dominance right now. Again, I just think it potentially gives us a better indicator that we're going to be going quite a bit higher this cycle.
On the subject of other tokens, we're going to go ahead and launch straight into our first little stuff that we're covering. We're going to be covering the Twitter articles first. It's not really articles, just more of statements of fact. But the first one is that Watcher Guru states that this just in, as of 9/27, earlier on the 15th of May, Robinhood launches Solana staking in Europe. Now, I don't know if they have Solana staking in America quite yet.
They do not.
It's launched in Europe.
Yep, they do not, sir. So the Solana thing is interesting because remember here, Robinhood still has a bunch of assets delisted because of because some of these assets were listed as securities by the SEC. But you can see the Robinhood in Europe, they're moving, they're just dandy doing a Solana staking, right? And this is just one of those indicators that telling us the shift in momentum, because now the SEC is now coming after one of the bigger traditional financial entities, which is Robinhood, right? We showed you a little bit of what was going on in that interview of the Robinhood CEO, and they were like, "Look, we tried to meet with them 16 times." No results from every single one of those meetings. And so we now have no choice but to take them, right? I'm assuming if the Wells notice is any indicator that there is going to be a legal battle between Robinhood and the SEC. And so they're going to take them to court, right? But Robinhood is like, well, we're not gonna stop business everywhere else, right? We're gonna continue doing business in other nations that are a bit more friendly towards crypto. And that's exactly what they're doing in Europe, right? And so look, the world is not going to fucking stop spinning in order and wait for the goddamn US to get their shit together, right? Fortunately, though, it seems like our regulators are landing on the same damn page. So, which we'll go over in a bit.
So I guess that about covers it for the Twitter article on Solana from Watcher Guru. Up next, we're going to go through the other Watcher Guru one. This just in, Vanguard hires BlackRock's global head of ETF, Salim Ramji, as new CEO. Vanguard banned all spot Bitcoin ETFs from their platform in January. So I think that this is just my personal take on this, I think that there might be a change in the very near future with Vanguard.
Isn't it so on the nose? It's a change of guard.
Yep. Look at that.
There you go. New Vanguard. But yeah, notably, if you remember back when we had the Bitcoin ETF launch back in January, Vanguard was one of the naysayers, and they held out. And then about a month later, when everything was just going absolutely buck wild and the money was flowing left and right, Vanguard was looking to get rid of that guy. And, well, they got a replacement for him. So there you go. The heads rolled due to people not being able to foresee the Bitcoin stuff. And the people that resisted are out of a job now. So that's kind of a bit of a TradFi momentum indicator, if you catch my drift.
Yep. And you know the reason why we're kind of lining these things up is we're trying to showcase exactly the shift in the momentum everywhere in the financial space towards crypto, right? It's not a fucking coincidence that the guy that they hired to replace Buckley is former BlackRock. Okay, it's not a fucking coincidence. And if you can't put two and two together, God help you. But
BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, those are the three. Oh, and Blackstone also. People don't often talk about Blackstone, but I don't know if they're anything with crypto yet. But they're the big bug eater crew.
The other point that I have for this one is that the ETFs are a big deal because I don't have the exact data on it, but the Bitcoin ETF made money absolutely hand over fist. And I want to say by like a tenfold was the most lucrative ETF launch ever. Yep. Even more than the gold ETFs back in early, was it 2003, 2004?
Yes, sir.
Even more than those. This one has just blown everything else out of the water. So I think when you have everyone else looking to figure out what's the next ETF launch, especially for crypto, it makes sense because this is just a telltale sign that there is money to be made here and it is massive.
Yep. And they don't want to miss out, right? They missed out on Bitcoin and they don't want to miss out on the next ones. You know, it's not just about what's happened in the past. They're also thinking about, like you said, Zenith, what's going to happen in the future. And they want someone that's going to have that forward, that forward thinking mindset, rather than this sort of like stuck in the past. It's like, hey, if you're not going to embrace new technologies, new opportunities for financial gain for our customers and for our clients, and hell, for themselves, then you're not long for this type of business.
Exactly.
Yep.
Vanguard put a head on a pike after the Bitcoin ETF, and we have at minimum one ETF ready to go in the barrel, with possibilities of more ETFs getting lined up after the Ethereum one. So it really is a message to the rest of the industry, not just an internal matter for Vanguard, but the fact that they're all competing together. It's a competitive market out there for these guys, especially.
Man, imagine how bullish the market would be the day Gary Gensler gets fired.
Bro.
It also depends on who is the one to follow him. Because
You know what?
theoretically,
Zenith, I don't think it matters. I think I think just the news of him firing, we just bring handle.
You say that now. You say
Now-
I'm sure they can find someone worse, Brendan.
Oh,
I have
they
no
certainly-
doubt
they-
in my mind.
They certainly can. Will, my point is, the euphoria in the beginning, just hearing that he's going to get fired, would be big.
a lot of euphoria on that one. Yeah.
The next
Well, I
ETF
think-
coming up is Dog with Hat. That's what it's going to be, boys.
Oh,
and
bro.
it's going to be Vanguard leading. Vanguard leading the way. They're going to have the Dog with Hat ETF, and then they're also going to have the
Pepe?
all the racist coins. Those are going to be the next ETFs.
Well, Pepe.
Or Pepe. Yeah, that could be Pepe. Could be all of them.
Hester Pierce has my vote, man. If I don't know exactly how that works. Like if there's okay, they're gonna throw nominations into the ring, right? But if it was left up to the public, I think everybody would want Hester Pierce to take that position from GG if he was to step down.
It's not up to the public, unfortunately.
Yep.
Yeah.
We have no say in this one.
You know what? The other thing is, it wouldn't be bad if Gary Gensler got fired after a new president maybe took over, because they would probably put somebody more pro-crypto and crypto-friendly in there. If he gets fired now, then you're going to get the same run-of-the-mill, to Zenith's point, because the same person, that is anti-crypto is going to be, appointing a new SEC chair. So.
It's a valid point.
They're probably going to give him a chance to save face, right? Same thing with Tim Buckley. A lot of people are when this shit happened, bro, they were like, yeah, you know what? It's not because of the ETFs. He actually made the executive decision to stand down on his own. Man, my man did not surrender a position that he held for 33 fucking years and surrender it to somebody else on his own. Like, what the fuck are you talking about, bro? He got significant pressure from probably their board members and their stockholders, because they were like, bro, you lost us a lot of fucking money. Right? These people don't like losing money like that. And they don't like being behind the 8 ball. And that's exactly what Vanguard did by saying no to these ETFs. Right? So it's like, they're gonna do the same thing for GG, man. They're gonna give him an opportunity to save face. I'm like, yeah, I stepped down. I'm gonna pursue different exploits. I'm like, yeah, sure, bro.
All right, on to the last Twitter.
Yes, the very
Me too.
last one from our very own Juan Miguel Angelo Schroff. Words mean things. Kakashi should look up what investment in currency means. I expected more from a former Hokage. And that is in reference to Watch Your Guru just in Federal Reserve. Kakashi says, Bitcoin has little practical use. It is not an investment vehicle or a currency. And
Just-
that man is 100% right.
For
You know,
a little
Will, he's-
context
End of show.
for a little context about who this person is, I know we like to jokingly call him Kakashi. However, if you have been watching some of the crypto news over this last year, you will probably remember this face. This is this
There we go.
face. This
Oh!
guy. This
Yes!
is the person who on tape was saying that there is, quote, infinite money at the Federal Reserve. That is this guy.
That's my favorite little meme.
My
thing.
man said the quiet part out loud because
Yeah.
there is infinite money at the Federal Reserve. Didn't
Yo.
you know?
Hey, Zenith, I just want to point something else out there. Maybe drop a link in there. Maybe this man needs some emails from the community.
Oh, email him. There you go. You can email.
Maybe we need to let this guy know that he's set in his old ways like Vanguard, and he's going to be next in the chopping block if he doesn't change his mind.
I
Right.
just dislike it. You know, the reason why I tweeted that was because I just dislike it when these people decide that the American language doesn't apply to them, right? It's like words mean things, bro. right? It is an investment vehicle by definition of what an investment is, right? It goes up over time. It's an asset, right? And it is a currency by definition, a currency, right? Because it's a medium of exchange. People use it to buy stuff, even though it's not as widely used, but I mean, it still is, right? And slowly but surely, other countries are adopting it, and slowly but surely, go ahead.
In fact, it's legal currency in some countries. So maybe not in your mind is it a currency, but yes, it's legal tender in multiple countries, and we can still use it to send money back and forth, even if it isn't, a main usable currency. You can name hundreds of countries that technically have currencies, but you can't really use them for anything.
Yep.
Right. So are those not currencies either?
Exactly. Right. I don't like when they play this game anywhere, right? They do this a lot in politics. Words are malleable to a degree, right? But they do not fucking relax and contract because of how you feel, right? They have actual fucking definitions, my guy. Like, Jesus Christ.
I have the video pulled up if you guys
Let's
want
do
to
it.
watch.
Let's play that video for everybody to see at home, man.
Yes, for the folks at home, here we go. Mr. Kakashi. Let me know if you can hear the audio or not.
Your ATM is safe. Your banks are safe. There's enough cash in the financial system. And there is an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve. An infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve.
An infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve.
Yeah, we might get demonetized for this part, but we'll survive.
Probably. But
And there we go.
there goes our monetization.
Hey, well, we were making truckloads of money anyway. So don't super chat us for this show. Save it for next one or later or something. But yeah, that's for the folks at home who have never seen Mr. Kakashi's famous speech before. There's an infinite amount of cash.
Bro, my God, Kakashi, man, that stress of being the sixth Hokage must have fucking gotten to him. He lost all his hair. Lost all his hair, man.
But he got his eye back.
He did get his eye.
Doesn't need it.
There we
This is
go.
producer, if you don't mind, I do have one more meme that is relevant to this conversation.
Yes.
Shout out to Boogie for the inspiration to make this one. He made a meme about the the Green Mile, where when Jerome Powell tells you to keep printing more, it's like the printer. I'm tired, boss. So I made this one. It says, "I'm tired, Jerome. That's too damn bad. You keep on printing."
That is so on the note. That is fantastic. Send that one to me, bro. I gotta keep that one, man.
Anyways, back to the tweet. The point is this, which is that this is yet another member of the current, I don't know if regime is the current word, but the Biden administration. He's one of the people in charge of the Federal Reserve, specifically the one in Minnesota. This is showing that they are much more about promoting the US dollar instead of promoting something like Bitcoin, because they're actively trying to maybe not sabotage, but they're trying to downplay it and just strike it down in the media, trying to convince you that it's not an investment vehicle or a currency, which Jay already pointed out, it is both. And this is kind of just the established power trying to protect its current position, which is understandable, but also just not very honest if we're keeping it 100% here.
Yeah, you're depriving people the life-changing opportunity to invest in the final frontier of finance. It is the final frontier of finance. Change my mind.
Yeah, the other thing to look at here is, what is the mandate of the Federal Reserve? Is the mandate of the Federal Reserve to protect the US dollar? No, the mandate of Federal Reserve is to promote a 2% inflation rate and ensure that the markets are stable. Does this accomplish that? No, and if anything, it barely helps fight the other half of that, which is trying to keep inflation, which is that because inflation has been the way it has been for so long, people have been looking for other stores of money, aka because you've not been able to achieve the inflation mandate, you are now instead trying to fight the other options to hedge against inflation, which is that you've not gotten it under control and you're trying to fight the things that are going to prevent the thing that you can't control. So it's really just doubling down on your own failures at this point.
Hey, they're gonna print that infinite money from the Federal Reserve, bro. We'll all be okay. All right, Brendan, you got something? Go ahead. Okay,
No,
I was about to say, I was about to say we're going to then not transform. What's the word? Transition. We're going to transition into girls on this show. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are now all female. Congratulations to everybody. You can go.
We're inclusive over here, man. We're inclusive.
Bonus points. All right. The next article that we're going to be covering is a news Bitcoin article about ARK and the ETF and all that good stuff. So I'll go ahead and read it out aloud over here. I suppose I could share screen if I wanted to be really super cool. I got to click this button, then I got to click this button, then I got to find that one and make sure I open the correct one. And there we have it. So, haha, beautiful. ARK Invest removes staking option from latest Ethereum ETF proposal. ARK Invest in 21 shares have revised their proposal for a spot Ethereum exchange traded fund, removing previously included options for staking. This change marks a significant pivot from their earlier filings, which had contemplated engaging trusted staking providers to manage part of the trust's assets. That's a lot of fancy people words. Can somebody explain to me and the rest of the peanut brains back at home what the hell that means?
Jay, you want to take it?
Yeah, absolutely. The reason why I found this particular article interesting, right, and just the move in particular very interesting, is the focus on staking. Now, I'm going to assume that all of the other applicants probably followed suit with Cathie Woods, is because the reason why the focus on staking is so big and why that has been removed from the filings is that you can make the argument that because, for example, if you were in Rocket Pool, right, because you didn't have the 32 ETH to become a validator, then you are technically expecting profits from the work of others, right, which would deem that particular aspect of Ethereum a security, right? And so that's in an article they said that, look, this might be a Hail Mary, like Eric Balshuna said that it might be a Hail Mary in regards to Cathie Wood and the other ETF filers, but I don't think so. The article glossed over it a little bit, but another interesting point here is that leading up to the Bitcoin ETFs, right, the commentary period between the filers and the SEC were pretty public. And that basically just means that, look, before we get this approved, we looked over all of your individual filings. We would like you to change X, Y, and Z. Could you make those changes before we can move forward with the approval, right? And I think the reason why in this particular case, the theory is that all of these things are going on behind closed doors. And the reason for that is they do not want the market to react in the same way that the market reacted prior to the Bitcoin ETF approvals. If you guys want a little bit more detail into this, right, the focus is on the removal of ETH staking. But Eric Balshunas went over this in a very long Twitter thread. So if you guys are not following him, go ahead if you want to take a deep dive into it, is that there were a lot of other changes that occurred within the filing outside of just the removal of staking, right? And so that's the prevailing theory right now. If you guys remember earlier on the show, I said that the number right now is 50-50 between approval and denial for the ETFs. And the reason why that number shot up significantly in favor of approval is because the speculation right now is that what's going on in the background is that there is a commentary period going on between the filers and the SEC. They're just not making it public because they don't want that volatility that preceded the approvals like it did with Bitcoin. So what do you guys think about this particular article? What do you think is going to happen next week? Remember, we've got the first of the final deadlines this Thursday for Van Eck.
Sure. Will, if you don't mind scrolling down to the last paragraph, there's the first sentence is what I was going to highlight. So we have Bloomberg lead ETF analyst Eric Balchunas says, describe the adjustment as potentially a Hail Mary. He says, so it's probably either a Hail Mary or maybe trying to give the SEC one less thing to use in the rejection. That is kind of how I looked at this one, which is that the idea is you want to give them the smallest stack of paperwork possible, which creates the fewest objections. If you have this staking aspect to it and no one else does, it makes one more point against you potentially to rule against your ETF release. It's just trying to consolidate the possible things that can trip up the SEC or your proposal in this regard. And this is kind of just streamlining the process. Instead of providing a wide array of different ETFs, it's all trying to homogenize it so that it is a higher probability of approval.
Yeah,
That is a good point.
Be somewhat similar. Go ahead, Jay. Sorry.
No, that is a good point. That is a good point by Z there. It might just be something that they're taking initiative on. Like Z said, right? Look, for denial, this is one particular thing that we know the SEC and Gary is going to hone in on. So we're just going to take the initiative and remove it before he can fucking complain. So it could just be that, right? But again, the speculation, like there's enough meat in this speculation, and why a lot of the pundits have now increased the probabilities for approval up to 50%.
This is my opinion on this one. I think that stuff like this really signals that this round of ETFs is not going to be the one to get approved. I still have my money on BlackRock in August. I think the fact that they are, it's like 276 approvals, only one rejection. BlackRock is the juggernaut. They are the safe money, the money line bet, the house favorite. That's them. Is it possible that these ETFs get approved? Yeah, sure, it's absolutely possible. But when I see stuff like this, saying that people are trying to make last-minute moves and consolidate into simpler approaches, it leads me to believe that they are thinking they're more likely to get rejected.
Yeah, I agree. And Jay, you said that maybe they're doing things behind the doors to keep the market from being as volatile, leading up to a potential approval. I think the markets kind of always know. I think the markets tend to front run news and know things that we don't as the sort of normies. So for me, I'm saying because ETH hasn't moved, because they haven't priced in an ETH ETF yet, that's kind of, in my mind, one of the reasons that I think we're not going to get approved next week as well. I also kind of have that same idea of August for BlackRock. But it's interesting because if they deny this, then what's going to happen? They're probably going to take it to court, just like they did for the Bitcoin ETF. And then, I don't know how long that's going to take to get sort of fixed or figured out. But honestly, again, I've been saying for a while, the longer it takes for the ETF to get approved, the better, because it's better market timing if we get approved in August or September or October, just from a cycle standpoint, just from hey, we don't want all of the good news to be happening in a short period of time, because that's going to lead to potentially a higher blow off the top, but a shorter a shorter cycle as far as the bull market goes. And so I think it's bullish if we get denied, which sounds weird, and then get approved later this year. I think that's a much more bullish scenario long-term for this 4-year cycle and for this bull market. So
putting it in bullish terms might not be the better way. It's more of an abnormal versus normal, which is if they get rejected, we're going to see the typical 4-year cycle, no surprises. But if it does get approved, it could potentially lead to that left translated cycle like we've talked about in the past. Sorry to cut it on you.
Yeah, no, thank you for correcting the terminologies. So
not a correction, just a different idea.
But yeah, so I think that it's potentially could be a good thing. I've always said early fall would be ideal for the ETH ETF to be approved. So look, August isn't that far off from early fall. So I'd take that, but that doesn't mean that I agree with what the SEC would be doing by denying the ETH ETF. I think they have no reason to deny it. It kind of comes into the same thinking as the Bitcoin ETF. You have the futures ETH, you have the future ETF. So what's the difference between what they're doing for the future ETFs versus spot Ethereum ETFs? They've showed, and Vanguard has shown, that really it's the exact same volatility. And so it doesn't matter if it's futures or spot. If you're going to approve futures, you need to approve spot, and you don't have, unless you have some sort of significant other reason, like maybe staking, right? That would be a reason to say, hey, this is significantly different than what we approved for a futures ETF. So, okay, like you said, Jay, let's take that out. Like you said, Zenith, let's take that out and not give that a reason for them to deny us. So I think that is a really good thought process. And hey, is the closer you keep it to the futures ETF, the better chance you're going to have for approval, or the better chance you're going to have to win the court case if it ends up going in that direction.
Yeah, they got no leg to stand on. Like you said, Bean, in terms of rejecting it, Hong Kong already has ETH ETFs. And all of the speculation that Gary and crew had with Bitcoin about how it's going to crash the financial markets and how it's going to wreck a lot of people, that didn't come true. Right. And so, look, it would be a pretty ballsy move if he denied it outright, because my goodness, the amount of lawsuits that's going to come across his desk, right? If he hasn't already had his fill of L's, he's going to take more, right? Because if he thinks that these companies, we spoke about it a bit last Sunday, right? That these companies are now smelling blood in the water. In the very beginning, most of these entities that were being sued by the SEC were just fine and dandy to say, look, we're going to pay our fine. Let us fucking do our business as usual. But when that didn't work, and a lot of these other companies, the bigger ones, started taking up arms and started winning battles in the court of law against the SEC, who by every measure has a bottomless bag of holding of fucking money to pull from, started taking L's in court, then all of these smaller companies started smelling blood in the water, and now they are not so terrified anymore to take these people to court and engage in a prolonged legal battle, because they know that not only are they going to have support from the judicial system, from now the members of Congress and Senate, but they could start like a grassroots GoFundMe, and they can help. Like they can get help from the community to fund their legal battles for like however long it might take.
Excellent points. I mean, the only other thing I have to say about this one is that the denial of ETFs would really show how Gary Gensler and his SEC have a different approach, what their role is in the markets. Previously in the past, it's kind of they're just a referee and an umpire calling balls and strikes and saying when the ball is inbound or out. But now it seems like Gary wants to run it like he's a playmaker and that they are in control of what happens in the markets. So, the way I see it.
You ain't a coach, bro. You're a fucking umpire.
Fire GG.
On the subject of coaches and umpires, this is a great transition into our next article, which is about the Senate passing measures withdrawing SEC accounting bulletin. You guys ready for this one?
Yeah,
so basically,
hell yeah.
The quick take for the folks at home who have not read this article, because I don't think we posted it anywhere, but the quick take is that the Senate voted 60-38 on Thursday on a resolution to overturn the SEC's SAB 121, which establishes certain accounting standards for firms that custody crypto. The resolution will likely be vetoed when it reaches President Joe Biden's desk. So, this is basically, from what I understand, reading those two sentences right there, is the SEC either has less scrutiny or it now has more scrutiny. Gentlemen, whose article was this? Who's the one that put this up? Z, was this you, or was this?
Yeah,
Brennan,
I think this is Jay. But this article is actually a continuation of articles that we've been talking about since last week and the week before. Which is that last week we mentioned that this bill passed the House of Representatives and was going before the Senate. And now it has officially passed the Senate, so it's gone through both houses and is going to go to the president's desk for potential signature. If you read the article, though, all of the analysts say that it is more than likely that Biden is going to actually veto this thing and reject the proposal outright. So if you go into it and you look at it, specifically in the Senate, I think it passed 60-38.
Yep,
so
60-38.
For all my folks
That's
that it is good, but it doesn't meet the threshold of a veto-proof majority.
Yeah,
which is that in order to in order to override the president's veto, it's got to be 2/3. They're close, but they're not quite there. In my personal opinion, what this article is talking about and shows us is that people are actually now willing to draw lines in the sand about how they feel about crypto regulation and how things have been going. Because up until this point, or up until this year, honestly, the Democrats in the House and the Senate have honestly been very, very much behind Joe Biden. But ever since the beginning of the year, we've been starting to see some deviation. And part of the issue that started to show that deviation was all of the Hamas-Israel stuff and all the Iran-Israel stuff. You've seen the Biden administration actually show that they have a bit of a split with the rest of the Democratic Party on this one. And now we're getting to the point where a bipartisan bill is getting rejected by the president. That shows that people in his own caucus were willing to pass this thing, but he is not. So that is where you start to see those lines getting drawn in the sand. This article and then the next one we're going to talk about, in my opinion, are showing how the battle lines are being drawn. Nobody's making crazy moves, but people are picking sides.
Yep. 228 to 182 from the House. So that's 21 Democrats signed on to this alongside there. And right now the Democrats are in the minority in the House, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
So
Minority in the House, majority in the
small
Senate.
Minority.
Yeah, they flipped.
Yeah. Brendan, you were going to say something though. Go ahead and chime in.
I believe that first of all, I believe the 21 votes was that for the House or for the Senate for the Democrats?
That was the House.
21 was the House, and that's just that 21 Democrats signed on with the Republicans in the House.
With the Republicans, yeah.
Yeah, and you know what's interesting? Like Zenith said, Biden already said that he's going to veto this bill, right? Prior to the House and prior to the Senate voting on it. So for having so many Democrats still go against him saying that he wants to veto this bill and choose to vote to remove the SEC's authorization over this is very indicative, as you said, of how things are going. It's like, hey, maybe there's some writing on the wall here. We can't just be voting party lines right now, but we need to be voting what's best for our constituents and best for the votes that are coming up later this fall. You know, maybe some of these people, some of these Democrats are very interested in keeping their seats. Maybe, you know, it's interesting because normally when a president is so strong about a bill, most of the time his party is going to try to follow suit a little bit. And in this case, there's quite a few of them that decided that wasn't the best case for them. And it wouldn't be the first time that he has vetoed a measure that was voted pretty bipartisanly, both by the House and the Senate. I believe he just vetoed one last month that was kind of pro-crypto and both bipartisan. So I think it's indicative of where we're moving, that we're getting into an election cycle. And it's interesting. The more and more that this becomes a bipartisan issue, the better it is for crypto. And when I say a bipartisan issue, I mean an issue that both parties are taking an interest in, you know. And I think that when we have potential bipartisan pro-crypto regulation, that's huge. And it just shows where we're going as a country. You know, someone asked me about 6 months ago, before maybe even a bit longer, maybe 8 months ago, 8 months ago, before Bitcoin had really taken off. And they're saying, hey, you know, it looks like Bitcoin's going to be potentially banned in the United States. You know what I mean? And I was like, and the one thing I said to them is, look, Bitcoin's a freight train. It doesn't matter what the United States tries to do. They can't stop it. It already has too much momentum. It has too much inertia, and it's gonna make a lot of people money. And therefore, no matter what they try to do, they're not going to be able to stop it. And I think that's what we're starting to see, is that momentum of this freight train that is crypto. No matter what they do, they continue to try to slow it down, to hit the emergency brake, but it just keeps moving forward. It keeps plowing forward. And that's because it is the people. It is the currency of the people, us plebs, us nobodies, right? I won't say that the government doesn't have some control, especially once ETFs come into play, but who've been the ones that have built in the crypto market for the last decade, right? It's us. It's you. It's the people that, you know, I hate to say it, but the government hasn't always had best interest at hand. And that still isn't changing necessarily now, but we're starting to see more people stand up against it and become pro-crypto and pro-regulation. Look, we've always said regulation for crypto isn't necessarily a bad thing, right? We want some regulation, but we want it to be smart. We want it to be innovative, and we don't want it to stifle what's growing and what's building so that it can help the United States. Because look, if we're the leader of blockchain technology, we're going to keep our position as a superpower a lot more than if this technology goes elsewhere and other countries are making all of the money off of it and we aren't making anything, right? But again, final point, the freight train has started, and I don't care if it's Biden or anybody else. Who's a Democrat senator from Massachusetts? I don't even want to say her name.
Miss Warren?
No, I don't want to say her name, so I'm not going to say her name. Yes,
We'll talk about her
that's
shortly.
what it is. But man, every time she opens her mouth about something crypto related, she just sounds stupid.
I would argue it's not that she she does sound kind of stupid, but she sounds stupid because for the people that know the details, they understand that she's kind of making some like ambiguous claims at best or outright falsities at worst. And I threw the link of the article in the chat below because this is honestly a very good article in my opinion because it covers a lot of different topics and shows how they tie together. So first off, I want to talk about how there's one of the quotes from another analyst who provides a bit of a different version from the other analysts that I covered earlier, which is that they say, quote, "I hope the president looks at the bipartisan support of this resolution not as a rebuke on the administration, but as consensus that no independent regulator is above the law and consumer protection should always trump personal vendettas against a disfavored industry." So this is someone saying that you can either look at this issue of the veto as pushing against your authority or power, or just a clarification, be like, hey, you guys got this one wrong. We're still cool, but just this one is not where we've been going. And I think that you can definitely see that because I think we might have skipped over this at the beginning, but the point of this bill is to overrule the SEC rule that was previously made saying that any crypto assets held by a bank or financial institution must be treated as liabilities instead of assets. There's the difference between saying that this is worth something and this is an active detriment to you. This is kind of goes to the point of like crypto has been saying like we are looking for regulation, but instead of regulation, they just got beat down with a baseball bat saying that you are actively hindering the system in existence. So with that point in mind, we're going to go over to Senator Warren's quote, which is this. She says that, quote, "We have seen multiple hacks of crypto platforms. The unique risk of crypto can create liabilities that seriously impact a company's financial condition. SAB 121 simply clarifies how companies should account for those risks in their financial disclosures. That's all it's doing."
Yes.
So
false.
Yeah, well,
wrong.
Yeah. So
look what. So
this is producer. If you don't mind, please pull up the graphic I have. There you go. So I'm going to go back to the article. She says, quote, "We have seen multiple hacks of crypto platforms. Crypto creates unique risks that creates unique liabilities that seriously impact a company's financial condition." Interesting. It's almost made it out to be like crypto is the only one that sees this sort of risk or volatility. So what I have pulled up here is a graphic showing all the different failures that banks have had over the U.S. dollar and bonds that have gone underwater due to inflation and interest rates changing. So we had Washington Mutual. Last year, we had the three biggest since pretty much the Great Depression, which was Silicon Valley Bank, First Republic Bank, and Signature Bank. She's trying to make the point that crypto is uniquely unstable, but in the same time frame, we've also had major U.S. financial institutions experience not similar things in regards to kind, but similar things in regards to effect, which is that we've had banks go under, losing a ton of money, and leave their holders high and dry at the end of the day. She's arguing that's what crypto platforms are doing, but at the same time, the exact same thing from the financial and monetary standpoint is happening in the bank sector.
Yeah, and here's another thing, right? The reason why 121 was so panned widely across the aisle and also by all of the different companies, the different crypto companies, is because for banks, in order for them to hold crypto, 121 states that you not only do you have to list it on your balance sheet, which is not how fucking assets are treated, the banks would have to carry collateral and match $1 for $1 for every single asset that they carry, which means if they carry one Bitcoin, whatever the price of Bitcoin right now is, it's like what, 66,287, that bank would have to carry $66,287 within their vaults in order to hold customers' assets, which is basically it renders the ability for any bank who want to custody their customers' assets, it renders their ability to do so, it basically renders it impossible, right? Because no bank is going to fucking do that. That is a huge capital risk to carry that much money in your vaults. I mean, Will already said it. They don't even do fractional reserve anymore. It's zero reserve banking. You think they're going to do that for crypto assets? There's no way. There's no way that's going to happen. And so that's why it was so widely panned, and why you have such big support from across the aisle from both the Democrats and the Republicans in order to overturn this bill, right? Or the guidelines, right? And so, go ahead, Z. Go ahead.
I was going to say the TLDR for why this thing is not what it appears to be on the face is because the SEC is trying to make rules and use their authority or their legitimacy to create a poison pill for the crypto community and how traditional finance interacts with cryptocurrency. We just saw, we literally just talked about how the Bitcoin ETFs were the most profitable thing that they've done in a long, long time. And now the SEC is looking at the TradFi institutions that they're supposed to be regulating and protecting effectively and tell them, no, you guys, we don't like that you're making money that way. So yeah, obviously all of the normal financial institutions and the crypto folks are going to be pushing back on this. And I think that's why you see the bipartisan support. And conversely, on the opposite side, the people that have been anti-crypto for a long time are continuing to try to leverage the SEC's legitimacy as a rulemaking body to push whatever they want under the guise of legitimate use.
Yeah. And go ahead, B.
Well, I just want to ask you guys a question. Because it's received such bipartisan approval in both the Senate and the House, does that change Biden's thought process of vetoing it? Is he going to think a little bit more before he vetoes it, or is he just going to say, "Don't care, vetoing it anyway"?
It depends. So there's the two perspectives that the article talked about previously. It depends on how the president sees this bill. Is this bill a pushback on your authority and your record, or is this bill a legitimate, saying hey, you guys missed one here? So is it either correcting a specific problem, or is it an attack on your power? That's
Zenith,
the question.
I want you to tell me.
I think that in the election year, it's going to matter. They're going to be trying to push public image. So I think that this may be seen more as an attack on power instead of an actual scalpel trying to attack an issue. So in my book, I see this one getting vetoed. Yeah.
Jay, think he's going to veto it?
I am actually of the opposite opinion. I think if Biden cares about winning the election, if he wants to have a prayer of winning the election, he doesn't veto this bill. I think the reason why he came out with a statement of vetoing the bill if it came across his desk is because Warren is pretty close to his ear about crypto regulation, right? And up until this point, right? Look, you have to realize that this is one of the few crypto issues that has moved through both Congress and Senate that has gotten overwhelming bipartisan support, right? Overwhelming in the context of usually it's a very split decision between the Democrats and the Republicans. Okay. And so if there's anything left running up there in his fucking head, he's going to see this as, okay, Warren is still pretty steadfast in her decision to go against crypto, right? But now this has moved through the Senate and the Congress in a blowout victory for overturning it. And you also have to realize, when he said that he was going to veto this bill, I'm actually going to share you the clip right now because it's so on the fucking nose. Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago said this. And Mrs. Producer, if you could please share this screen. Let me pull it up really quickly.
I got something after you're done with that as well, Jay.
I also have one final point for congressional stuff before we move on to the next article, because they are definitely tied together, but I do want to provide a little inside baseball on politics.
Sure thing.
Biden doesn't even know what it is. If you ask Biden, sir, are you for or against crypto? What's that? What the? Get me off the stage. He's saying, get me off the stage. No, he has no idea. But look, Gensler is very much against it. The Democrats are very much against it. And I say this, a lot of people are very much for it, probably a lot of the people in this group. And I'm fine with it. I want to make sure it's good and solid and everything else, but I'm good with it. And if you like crypto in any form, and it comes in a lot of different forms, if you're in favor of crypto, you better vote for Trump. They are against it. The Biden
So this dovetails perfectly into the point that I was going to make. And Mrs. Producer, if you would be so kind as to bring up Bradley Langen's latest comment, and this is addressed to you, Mr. Bean. Is Biden capable of remembering anything he's signing for when pen hits paper? So for the folks at home, whenever we are talking about Biden, we might not be literally talking about the physical corporeal manifestation of Joe Biden, but whatever puppet masters might be behind the show playing with the strings, whether it's actually Biden himself and he's capable of making these shots and calls, or whomsoever it might be. That's what we mean when we refer to Biden. It's just simpler to say that rather than say like, oh, the puppet masters behind the show, or whoever is calling the shots. It might be Pfizer. They might be using the drugs to mind control Biden. Who really knows? But that's what we're talking about, Mr. Bradley. Go ahead.
If I could throw a song on right now, it would be "Master of Puppets" by Metallica, because I think that sums it up perfectly. Master of Puppets.
Zenith, go ahead and or actually Jay, go ahead and make your little counterpoint if you got it, and then Zenith transition us away, and then we'll go into the next thing.
So just to finish the kind of thought from this whole thing, right? If there is a puppet master, then that means they are going to think critically, right? So they see the bipartisan support for this particular issue, right? And if they do want to have a chance in hell at winning this next election, then they're going to have to shift gears, because they know that Trump has planted his flag for crypto. Vivek is in his camp, probably the one whispering in his ear, right? And over 25% of Americans are crypto holders. Assuming that they all care about their fucking bags, who do you think they're going to vote for? It's pretty obvious. This reminds me of what happened during the 2016 election when Clinton decided to ignore some swing states, right? And that cost her the fucking election. This is very reminiscent of that. If Biden or whoever is pulling his strings decides to ignore this issue, then they forfeit the election. I guarantee you. They're going to have to switch gears, right? And crypto is going to be a very big topic for debate on the two upcoming ones.
I agree. I think that both of you make good points, Zenith, Jay, and I think it's a great question. I think, does what Trump said this past week change Biden's tone too, right? Does he have to be like, okay, hey, look, we need to not be so anti-crypto because we need some of those votes, right? We want some of those votes for some of those people. Because right now, as it currently stands, and it might not make a difference, right? It might not make a difference. But do you know anyone that is seriously wanting to invest in crypto, that wants to vote for someone that wants to completely destroy and eviscerate that part of the market?
Not if you care about your bags.
Exactly. And not if you and look, we joke a lot that we're here for the tech, right? And the tech's great, right? We're here to make money too, probably more than anything. But nonetheless, I don't care what you're here for. If you're here for the technology, I know people that, build and that's what their job is, right? Within the crypto sphere. They care more about the building the technology than maybe what they're holding or making. But nonetheless, he's alienating those people if he continues to have these very, very strong anti-crypto statements and vetoes.
Yeah, man, like I said, like what Hillary did, right? She alienated a large percentage of her potential voters. And this is what's going to happen if Biden ignores this issue.
It doesn't even make sense too, because freaking Hunter is Satoshi anyway. So I don't know why Biden would be like disapproving of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency in general. That's the way that it goes. All right,
we're going. Parmesan cheese and Bitcoin go hand in hand. So,
yes,
gentlemen, I don't disagree with anything you guys are saying. And the only possible disagreement I have is that when it comes to down to this election cycle, the factor of crypto to sway votes, I think, might be a little overstated compared to the rest of the stuff. Traditional political wisdom is going to tell you it's the economy stupid, which because of inflation numbers would make sense. S&P 500 technically is still trending into price discovery. However, at the same time, if you adjust for it inflationarily wise, it's really not doing that much. If anything, it's like slightly up, maybe even flat. So the reason that I think that last article in particular was important is because you have to understand how the political process works. There's bills like the one that I think Thomas Massie just introduced, which is just a bill to straight repeal the Federal Reserve, just to end it outright. A bill like that is made more of as a a campaign signaling thing towards your own base, because the truth is it's never actually going to receive a vote. I highly doubt it's even ever going to go to the floor, because the Speaker of the House controls which bills get introduced or even go to committee or get out of committee. The reason that this is so different than a bill like the one to end the Federal Reserve is because you don't introduce things into Congress unless you know you have the votes or you're trying to force an issue. Because if you introduce something onto the floor, then it just gets immediately shot down. You look foolish, you look weak, and you look like you're out of touch. The reason that the fact that we're even exactly the reason that the fact we're talking about this going to a veto, where this bill that has passed 2 houses of Congress with support is going to go get smacked down by the president. This is not the issue of whether the bill passes. This is forcing the issue. This is forcing people to plant their feet in the sand and show where they stand. That is why this one is important. And it is also a good counterpoint to the article that we were just about to talk about, which is pretty much surrounding the entire clip we just watched. So with that being said, please take it away.
All right. So we're going to go. Oh, snap. I don't have a subscription to Forbes. Whomsoever might have a subscription to Forbes. That's going to be our next article. I have to disable my ad blocker. Fuck that shit. I don't know how to do that. I'll have to do that at some point. One of these days. But so let's see. I will go ahead and read the article. I see that someone else is scrolling through the common thing right now. But Trump on crypto. I'm good with it. Polygon founder Mihailo at Mar-a-Lago. So apparently Trump is good with crypto, as we have just seen. Does anyone have access to this Forbes article that is our next point of conversation?
Give me 1 second here, Will. I think I can pull it up here.
You may share it.
Go ahead, Z.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Bean.
Brendan, if you don't
Share
mind.
screen. Share
Excellent.
entire screen.
Yep. And then we'll do some more chat shout-outs after this article. Beautiful. Look at all those ads. Wow.
And they want you to pay for it on top of the ads, right?
I know, right? These fuckers. That's the way it goes, though. So what do we got? Let's see. Donald Trump just sent the price of his tiny Bitcoin rival soaring.
Yeah.
So this particular article, right, is pretty on the nose because of the clip that we just watched, and it's in relation to that. So, the asset that this particular article is talking about is Polygon, right? Because Trump actually invited the founder of Polygon to Mar-a-Lago to discuss these particular issues, right? And so this is just kind of reinforcing the point that Donald Trump is most certainly planting his flag for crypto, right? We saw that with the NFTs, right? We know Melania has her own NFT projects, and now because we know that Vivek is working very closely with them, right? That he's probably going to be talking crypto in Trump's ear for the remainder of this election cycle, right? And so again, you now have one of the major founders of an L2 having conversations with President Trump about why it's important to have these things spoken about, especially in the upcoming debates. Then you can definitely make sure you can definitely be certain that Donald Trump is going to plant his flag and talk crypto, right? I know Zenith said that it's a bit overblown, right? The how much this is going to going to swing votes, and that is true to an extent, because let's face it, over 25% of Americans are crypto holders, but that's including Americans that have like fractions of Satoshis in their wallets, or are just like engaging in meme coins, right? The overwhelming majority of that 25% does not it doesn't make up people like us, right, who are knee deep into the weeds of this stuff, right? but I mean, come on, let's face it, right? Even a few million votes over to Trump's side is more than enough. Because if we've seen the most recent polls, I don't know if you guys saw that one clip of CNN. Donald Trump from 2020 has done more than 2x his share of the Black American votes, from 9% to 22%. 22%, which means he would, since I believe Nixon, right? Since Nixon was in office, Donald Trump would be the president in like the past few decades that has had that majority support from the Black community, right? And so Donald Trump is blowing, like, he's blowing out Joe Biden in all of these different metrics. And even if it was only a few more million votes swing in his favor because of the crypto issue, it's going to be more than enough to put a nail in the coffin, right? So that's why I'm saying, if Biden and whoever's pulling the strings actually think this matters, they're looking at the fucking polls and they're looking at every single issue that Donald Trump is blowing Biden out of the water in, and they're gonna think, look, we got to start rating in some of these other talking points, man, because we can't be losing in all these aspects, and they are, right. Every single poll shows it. Even people at fucking CNN, MSNBC are talking about it, right? So that tells you something. Mr. Popular is losing by a landslide.
Well, they're going to make that money,
remember.
Go ahead.
Exactly. So I was going to say, if you remember the 2020 election, Donald Trump lost by a matter of like 45,000 votes across 3 or 4 specific states.
Yeah.
That really is the difference of the people that you have to shift over, or the amount of people you have to get to turn out, because it's not always a matter of trying to convince people to flip sides. Honestly, a lot of it is battling for the independents that have their minds not made up entirely.
Yeah.
Which is, you have to either appeal to them on the issues they care about, or someone is going to do the opposite and show them that they're actually like threatening the issues they care about enough to the point that they're willing to get off their butt and go vote. Turnout is one of the big things that's going to determine an election, because it is a bit of a Tim Pool quote, but it's not necessarily about winning the argument. It's about collecting pieces of paper with names on them. And whoever does that the most is the winner.
Yeah.
And fraud.
So that's part of the collecting pieces of paper game.
That's a discussion all in itself.
Yep.
Yeah.
But we're going to transition into chats unless you got something, Jay.
I still have one point I want to talk about on this one.
Go ahead,
So,
Zeke.
Mrs. Producer, if you don't mind bringing up my screen share, we're going to go back to the article. This one is also a good one, other than I hate Forbes's formatting and the fact they only give me 4 free articles a week or whatever. But down below, a plethora of ads, is this little paragraph here. I didn't expect to share that I was in Mar-a-Lago tonight, but President Trump spoke very highly about crypto and then invited me on stage to say a few words. The man in question here is the Polygon founder. Mihailo Bajelic.
Indian guy. He's Indian. We know that.
Yeah. So if you remember, I believe Polygon is the layer 2 of Ethereum, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's a pretty big player in the space, in the fact that it comes back to people are drawing lines in the sand. This is Donald Trump saying that he's very pro crypto. Even like, you probably should have known this between the 2 NFT collections that he's launched and called them great successes, which, by the way, by the metrics, they have been, and they're some of the best performing NFT collections in existence currently. And in an election year, these are not financial advice, but with Donald Trump's name in the news as much as it is, chances are those things are going to have even more collectability and even more demand driven to them. Yep. So this is not just him making an NFT collection, but it's also networking and promoting other people in the space with a lot of money in particular.
Something worth noting is that these NFT collections are on Polygon, and he's having the Polygon inventor guy speak at his place. So there's something there. And like, I don't know if it's going to cause price action, or like, I don't know what the fuck the price is going to do. Maybe it'll all go to zero. But Donald Trump's NFT collections are all on Polygon. The Polygon leader guy is speaking at Trump's place in Mar-a-Lago. Like, this may be worth looking into.
And here's another thing. Guess what that opens up the door for? It opens up the door for donations in crypto for his campaign, which Joe Biden is not going to get unless he's like, yeah, guys, can you fucking imagine, bro? Can you imagine he vetoes this particular issue? He's like, yeah, we're opening up the donations for crypto also. Bro.
But Trump's and Jay, as you just said, right? Trump's now accepting crypto donations. That was something else that this article mentioned. Which, look, you need money to run a campaign, and there's some people in the crypto sphere that have a lot of it.
All right, we got anything else, ladies and germs?
No.
Nothing? All right.
Yeah.
Sweet. It's time. Not this paper. I need to get my other paper. It is time, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, crypto degenerates, ducks and squirrels, for chat shoutouts. Oh boy.
We lost you, buddy.
Can't hear you.
Rugged himself.
We lost you, my friend.
Will rugged himself.
Yeah,
And he
I
can't
think
hear
you're
us.
on
Pretty
your-
sure.
There we go.
There you go. He's back.
Pretty sure it's a fire. Oh, you got me?
We lost
Yeah.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
got you.
Oh, okay. Well, we got the Brothers 64 with the $10 of Justin Trudeau bucks. And on my screen, it's showing up as 2 boxes, but I'm pretty sure when I checked out YouTube earlier, it's the Italian hands along with fire. So the Brothers 64 are making sure that we make good fiery pizza and spaghetti meatballs, just like Mr. Corey Costa.
Mamma mia.
Shout out to the Brothers 64. They're creating some crazy cool stuff. Go check out their Instagram. Go check out their TikTok. Go check out their YouTube. These guys are some super cool Canadian fellas making some really, really, really simple memes that are all under like 2 minutes or 2 minutes to a minute. And it's all on like super simple crypto onboarding humor for like boomers and folks that are in our generation. Not quite so much the younger folks, because it's all Nintendo 64. But it's some great onboarding stuff and some great humor that ties in the principles of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and just general cryptocurrency too. All that stuff. So big shout out to the Brothers 64. We love you guys and we like seeing your content. Up next, we got Mr. Brown 310. Buy high and sell low. He's absolutely right. The perfect time to buy is at the very tops, and then you wait for the price to tank, and then you sell it, and then you take your profits right out there. You can get an easy 30% of your original investment and lose the other 69.999 infinity percent. So go ahead and do that. Make sure you guys remember to buy high and sell low, and then go rob banks to make up for your lost money. After that, next up, we've got Dre Sims with the buying. Mr. Dre Sims is saying the buying options. I'm not sure to what he's referring to, but it's good to see you in the chat, Mr. Dre Sims, blah da. Our other what's the word? Our
diversity hire.
Our diversity hire, yes. And Dre Sims is lighter than I am, and I'm a white man, so that's
Self-claimed diversity hire.
Yes, self-proclaimed. So good to see you though, Dre Sims. It's nice to have you, buddy. Next up, we got Bradley Langen with the classic bureaucratic tactics. Cut the shitstorm off before it starts by resigning instead of being fired. And this was in reference to Homeboy we were talking about earlier. This is a common tactic. People resign before they get fired because then they're allowed to save face and they're allowed to look like they're still in charge of their own life when really they're not. They made a silly, dumb goof.
Yeah, that was
Next
in
up,
regards to the Vanguard CEO that got replaced.
Yeah.
Yep, Mr. Buckley.
Bye, Buckley. Next up, we got Moon Mutt. Hello, my DGen friends. Glad to be with you tonight. It is good to see you, good sir. Moon Mutt is my IRL friend. I met him. We hung out. It's a great time. Shout out to Moon Mutt. Go hang out with him in the Telegram channels. You can find him over in Mr. Randy Hilarski's channel. He's an admin over there, and he's just chilling around, hanging out in the crypto space, doing great things. Shout out to Moon Mutt. Next up, we have Crypto Compassion with faces. I'm not sure entirely what he was trying to say, but it must be a very compassionate sort of thing because there's 4 of them. So shout out to Crypto Compassion. Good to see you, broski. And then finally, we've got Mr. Paul Sachs. Table is looking stoked tonight. Good to see you, boys, and Mrs. Maggette. So shout out to you, Paul, another IRL friend. You guys should go out and meet all the people that you can in the crypto sphere, all the Hexkins, all the cool folks, all the cool people. Go hang out with them. Go chill out. You guys can actually go to t.me/hex_meetup, which just disappeared, but that's okay. Go to t.me/hex_meetup, and you guys can set up your own little meetups and hang out with all sorts of the crypto boys. And then we're going to move on into our next article. We're going to go ahead and talk about I'm pretty sure the Sonic article is next. Oh, just kidding. Inflation data. We're going to go for inflation data. Inflation data is next. So, news release from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, U.S. Department of Labor. This is a really long and complicated one with lots of charts. Brendan, I'm going to presume that this one came from you, good buddy. Or it came from Zenith.
I didn't put anything in this today. This is
this is.
But it's a good thought. It's a good thought.
It is a good thought. Yeah, this is normally what I would consider to be your wheelhouse.
That's normally what I put in there. Yeah.
Zenith, are you ready to share screen for this thing, or would you like me to do it?
Yes, sir. I am good to go. So,
oh, look at that.
As people know, I enjoy obsessing over the CPI report data whenever it comes out. So this month in particular, we are looking at 3.4% inflation year over year. This table down here shows all of the last ones for the year over year. The previous one that we had was 0.4% higher, but it was also 3.7%. We are now at 3.4%. So it is trending in the right direction. However, I would remind folks that we are still well above where we should be. So here's our new data point here, a bit of a downtrend. You could theoretically maybe call this a trend line being respected, going from, what was this, 3.8 to 3.7. But at the same time, in regards to where we should be, we are still almost double the inflation. This is, again, reported inflation of what's going on. So what people are actually feeling out there at home might be entirely different, or even double of what this reported inflation data is. And again, this just kind of goes back to show that there's a reason interest rates are where they are right now. And we were talking about it even like throughout last year, which is that they could have gone higher if they wanted, but they've chose to hold them where they are for now. I believe the next next, go for it.
I just want to be sorry before you move off this. It's also interesting, right, that this chart shows me that we're still sticky, right? We're essentially crabbing sideways. That's not good,
yes.
right?
Yes.
This is actually showing a very sticky amount of inflation. And yeah, while the core inflation is at the lowest that we've seen in a couple of years, you know, the PPI is still quite high, and there's still some underlying issues like housing, energy, and things that are really affecting the everyday person.
Yeah, you're entirely correct. This, again, I hate to just be like the black pill doomer. Everything's just, we're being lied to. There's all the terrible things.
I mean, we are being lied to.
It's all going to shit.
Like, what do you do with that information? Like, do you hide under a rock and cry about it, or you try to move yourself into the fucking capital class so that when shit like inflation happens, you're like, oh, you mean more money printing is going on? You mean the good debt that I took out is now easier to pay back because there's more money in circulation, right? That should be your frame of mind, right? Like, move yourself from the class of people who fucking cry about inflation and move yourself to the fucking capital class who celebrates when there's a lot of money printing going on, because now you can take on more good debt because that good debt costs less.
I have
correct.
I like your tinfoil hat there that you have adopted, Mr. Zenith. That is excellent. I bet it's keeping your thoughts all nice and warm and trapped in there.
If you guys steal my brain,
if you guys don't mind, I would like to steal screen share for a second. So for the folks at home who might not know how to read all these charts and things, I've got a very, very easy thing for them compared to. So a McDouble, which costs around $1.19 in 2014, now costs nearly 3 times that amount at $3.19. A medium fry, which went for around $1.59 10 years ago, now costs around $3.79 per the study. The fan favorite Big Mac once went for $3.99 and now sits on the menu at around $5.99 today. So if you guys think that they're lying to you with these CPI numbers, these are what the actual real life applicable costs and numbers are, right? You've got McDoubles that have over doubled in a span of 10 years. You've got fries, which have done about the same, a little over a double. And then the Big Mac, I guess Big Macs are your slow movers. So if you really want to gain on your investment, then you buy McDoubles and you sell into Big Macs or something along those lines.
Will, one more thing to add about the Big Mac though is they've reduced how much food you get in the Big Mac sandwich. So while the price is not doubled, they've reduced the quantity of food that you get. So it has still more than doubled if you're comparing the amount of food that you actually got 10 years ago versus the amount of food that you get with the Big Mac now.
Yep, that's totally true. And if you guys notice the sizes of cereal boxes for the price that you get, they are now smaller and lighter weight. So there's
a lot more air in those boxes.
Yep, shrinkflation as well as inflation. That is all that I've got for this screen share. So, Mrs. Producer,
toss it back over to me. I have more depressing things to show the people.
Oh man, there's no more the value menu now. Z.
I just want to point out the date.
Yeah,
that was 2015.
Yep.
That's 2015 when we could still get McDoubles, parfait, small fries, 2 apple pies, and a McChicken for $1 each. I remember.
will say,
God, I'm gonna date myself here, but I remember being in high school and I could go get an entire lunch at McDonald's for $3.24 because I got a McDouble, a McChicken, and a drink.
Yep.
one thing
Like-
that it might be really important for folks to do, and this is if you're working a W-2 wage job, right? Is you guys want to talk to your employers and you want to let them know that you're aware that inflation exists and it's roughly 5% per year. And so like base rate of pay increase on a yearly rate needs to be 5%. And if it's not 5%, then you're not keeping up. I guarantee you the fucking company that you're working for is charging over 5% more every single year to keep up with the rate of inflation. You guys need to do your due diligence as employees and things of that nature to like either get in writing 5% per year to keep up with the cost of living, or just like make yourselves more valuable and do more work and just like slave away and do whatever. Like we're all in crypto to break out of this system, but like if for God's sakes like you don't make it this cycle, this is something that is very important and you guys need to do. Like thinking about 0% financing.
Bro, what the hell? That is amazing.
That's hilarious.
Oh my God.
Zero interest financing for 36 months, man. $200 value menu.
So
Right
as
on the
much of a
fucking
meme
note.
as this is, I would like to point out that you can finance Domino's pizzas today.
Yes.
You can put a
That's
pizza on a
insane.
payment plan.
Yeah.
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
That is real.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, if you guys look at the rate that Americans are taking out more debt, man, it is not pretty. It is the savings has been drained over the past few years, and like Will said, man, the dollar menu has more than tripled in price over the span of 10 years. But take that into the context of wages. Wages certainly have not 3x, man. Certainly have not 3x, and we're just talking about one particular item, and that is food. We're consider the broad spectrum of other things: energy, housing, transportation, all of the things that we care about, all of the things that factor into our cost of living. They have certainly also 2 or 3x, some maybe even more.
When in regards to food and energy, I personally think this is a slap in the face of the American intelligence to just leave that inflation data does not include energy and food.
The most
Because those are
important things.
Yeah, like literally two of the largest costs that you're going to experience. Why would you not track that data? And why would you not care about that data? So if you look, the purple line here, this is the all items minus food and energy. And then the blue line is the one including food and energy. Granted, they might try to look at this purple line and be like, oh, wow, look at this nice downtrend. We're doing so great. Meanwhile, to what Brendan was pointing out earlier, nope, we're sticky. We are sticky as hell. And by the way, shout out to Bradley in the chat. I saw you in here. I always knew this was kind of the case, but thanks to your book recommendation, you definitely threw me down the rabbit hole of, oh God, our money is worthless. Everything is collapsing. What do we do? So thanks for that, man. Tinfoil hats for you today.
That's
Yes,
why we in
sir.
crypto, man.
And look, Josh has talked about this a lot, but the stagflation in the 70s was a huge problem that sent ripples throughout our economy for years after that, for many years after that. And so, one of the worries now is, hey, if we're going to keep this sticky inflation, are we going to sit in this standpoint of stagflation? Is that where we're getting? Are we going to be, sort of rehashing what we saw in the 70s? Because that's something that could be potentially scary, and something obviously that the Fed has in the back of their mind. They know what happened then. They know the issues that it caused and the lasting issues that it caused for many, many years after. And that's the question, right? Like, we're going to look back, Z, and you said earlier, like, we could have raised the interest rates one more time before we decided to just keep it higher longer. Now we're going to look back and say, hey, was that a mistake by the Fed? Was that a mistake by Powell? And we don't know the answer to that yet, but stagflation is super scary. And this stickiness that we're seeing here in this sort of just bumping up, bumping down, that's worrisome.
It is. By the way, you talk about stagflation. I think that people don't truly understand like how awful that is, because it literally means your economy is not going anywhere, and if anything, it's actually losing ground compared to your inflation. this legitimately is a threat. I've got some numbers from the last FOMC meeting that Jerome Powell was talking about. He said that GDP for the quarter was up 3.2%, and according to his metrics, PC&E inflation was 2.5%, and PCI inflation, the everything inflation, was 2.8%. Keep in mind, this was back when they had inflation. It was either that 3.4 or the 3.7 number, which means that if the number that I'm looking at says 3.4 and the GDP growth says 3.1, that means that we're kind of losing ground when it comes to actual. Yep. That means that stagflation is actually becoming a real threat. It is an entire possibility. Depressing, I know.
All right.
But I'm here to call balls and strikes when I see them.
Have we squeezed the juice out of this article? If so, we will transition over into Sonic. Talking about Sonic. How does it sound? All right. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, crypto degenerates, ducks and squirrels, there is a new frontier building the Sonic boom. So, the TLDR, launch of a blockchain network named Sonic Network with a native token utilizing the ticker $S will be the new layer 1 chain with a native layer 2 bridge connected to Ethereum and beyond. Okay, so let me back up. They didn't even mention Phantom. So this is for Phantom, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. So Phantom's having a new cool ass upgrade. Holders of Phantom will have the ability to migrate their tokens for a 1-to-1 ratio at Genesis for the $S token, pending the results of a first governance vote. Next, utilizing a secure bridge architecture, the Sonic chain will provide users and dApps with significant improvement. Okay, so this is more juicy details. Jay, is this your article, I presume?
No, sir. This is Mr. Z talking about the Sonic upgrade, where we thought it was just an upgrade. Turns out it's a lot more than that.
Sonic boom.
Right. Go ahead and take it away, Mr.
If you don't mind with the screen share, please.
Man, I am so bad at guessing whose articles these are. Go ahead, Z. Take it away.
You're good. Yep. So, by the way, this is what we were referring to earlier in the stream. We were talking about the information on Phantom that Boogie and Twinkie covered previously. They have a very good coverage of this, along with, for anybody in the Crypto Mindset course right now, there was a good webinar talking about this stuff. So, this is news because what we previously were expecting was an upgrade to the existing network. What this is the proposal of a new layer 2 chain connected to the original layer 1 chain of Phantom. The reason that we're talking about this is because the Sonic upgrade was something that was proposed that if worked properly on Phantom, it is possible to apply it to Ethereum. So what we're seeing with this is that Phantom already does a massive number of transactions per second, along with data compression, which is that the amount of data to store the entire blockchain, not just the amount of data, but the way that data is stored is physically smaller than the existing things before it. So Phantom has the ability to go faster with less data. The Sonic upgrade was designed to push those transactions per second through the roof. It looks like they have found a way to do that by creating a new L2 chain that is tied to their layer 1 chain that should allow for liquidity on both sides to be accessed. The reason that this is a news event for us is that this is the announcement of a new L2 chain for Phantom effectively. And they're trying to figure out what the possible ways to do it are. So, with that being said, they have a few proposals and there is currently voting going on. So if you are a Phantom holder and you want to connect your wallet and actually do a digital signature, you can go vote on the proposals that are here. So the proposal number 1 is just Phantom to Sonic compatibility. This is support and approval to make Phantom compatible with Sonic as a 1-to-1 swap ratio at Genesis, aka when Sonic launches, you can take any existing Phantom, swap it into Sonic. Number 2 is an airdrop program, which is just airdrop Sonic to current Phantom holders. Proposal number 3 is Sonic Growth Program. This is additional Sonic to be minted to pursue key strategic growth opportunities such as Web 2 and 3 partnerships, listing, and migration for key Phantom builders. This is the idea that you're using the opportunity for a new launch to airdrop to people that you want to get into the space. This is adding a little bit extra tokens to the existing supply as a marketing campaign. Is trying to give tokens through airdrops to bring in other people from outside that previously might not have been interested, but now that they were given a little skin in the game, they have the ability to transact and honestly open their eyes and see like, oh shoot, there's actually good stuff here. And then lastly, we have proposal number 4, validator rewards, seeking to modify validator rewards as a way to migrate. I will admit this is one of the ones that I am less familiar with, but one of the things they're talking about is that if you want to be a validator for the Sonic chain, it is much less of a burden than being a validator on the Phantom chain. Because if you wanted to validate for Phantom, you had to have a lock time of 1 year. For Sonic, they're proposing a lock time between 14 to 28 days. Quite the difference. Additionally, the minimum to be the validator is 50,000 Sonic or Phantom, which it's not massive, but at the same time, it's not nothing. I'll say that much, because Phantom right now is about 85 cents. So this is like 40 grand to be a validator. Not me per se, but maybe some of you guys out there, hats off to you. All right, that's what I got. Please jump in.
So one of the things that really caught my interest is this is happening right at an opportune time. If all of the voting occurs right before this next leg up in the market, bro, like Phantom was already on a pretty damn good trajectory, and now we've got a potential new one if the DAO votes in that direction, right? If everything gets migrated over to Sonic eventually, right? Because I think so. Right now, the proposal is there's going to be support still for Phantom, but I think the overall goal is to eventually, inevitably transition fully into Sonic, right? And so we were already pretty bullish on Phantom, and if they can get all of their ducks in line before the market starts really running hot again, man, like we were thinking like shit, a minimum of like $10 for Phantom. Like as a new L1, bro, man, we know how those things perform. And there's already a lot of love for Phantom from retail, right? Like Phantom predominantly is a retail run space as opposed to like a VC run space like Solana is. And so like if they can get more eyes, especially if they can get more eyes into Sonic via these airdrops, like Z was kind of mentioning earlier, these new entities into the system by providing them some incentives, man, sky's the limit. So I'm like good shit, man. Kudos to them.
Brendan, you got anything? I got a little analysis of the situation I want to toss in at the end.
No, nothing. I'll just say that, there's a little bit of bickering and fighting between the holders and the DAO Phantom Foundation of, hey, are we just going to print coins to fund these types of things, or should we just pay for it ourselves? Like they already have hundreds of millions of dollars. So, I think that the Phantom Foundation can fund this without trying to get on the backs of the people. So that's the only thing I want to throw out there.
That's fair.
Go ahead and put in your
speaking of,
and then we'll start wrap-ups.
Perfect. Speaking of the existing sentiment, if you don't mind sharing my screen one more time, this is the voting menu for the proposals. As you can see right now, the approval of Phantom to Sonic migration is at 99.8% approval. So there's any indication about which way the people are feeling. That's how we're going. Voting. The voting timeline that they have here is a bit interesting. They said we're going to give you a maximum of 31 days and a minimum of 7. We're going to try to wait until we get the majority of consensus, and if there's the ability to make a decision early, we will go ahead and do that. The minimum required is 55% of votes. Right now we're at 52%, and we're about 2 days into this thing. So odds are this is going to resolve sooner rather than later. So when it comes to the different proposals, there's a few trains of thought about what might either be in your favor, what you want to do, what you hope to see. Previously, what people were hoping to see was just an overnight upgrade. You kind of just wake up one morning and you see, oh, wow, look at that. Transactions pretty much like 8x'd. That requires no effort from you, is a bit of a news event that kind of helps pump the ecosystem, be like, hey, we're even faster now. Come check it out.
And Phantom's already pretty fast. Like they're one of the fastest chains out there. Yeah, they're damn fast.
Exactly. So now that there's the ability to have a new network launch, it provides an opportunity for other folks. And then for the folks that were hoping to just have a bit more passive management of their portfolio, this is possibly something you now have to worry about that you previously did not. I will say this, it appears that the people that are involved in Phantom are very much like the DeFi advanced users, which is that you are here to do all the fancy bells and whistles and utilize as much as you can. You are probably using Boo. You're probably using Equalizer. You're probably getting the NFT Magic Cats to boost your yield on Equalizer and Boo. So it's like the people that exist in the system are the advanced users, I would argue, which means that they are the ones that are more actively managing portfolios and are good with an opportunity like a network launch, which is why I think you see the overwhelming support of the approval.
Yep.
Agreed.
None of
Yes,
my-
sir.
And we've always said that Phantom is great because the tech is real and the people that are building on Phantom are real. And this is just another piece of that.
Yeah, I know the joke is that we're in it for the tech, but if you're in it for the tech, this is the one. Phantom has been that place, and I think it will continue to be that place.
As long as they don't continue to get honeypotted by their people that are running Phantom.
And it's fun, bro. Like the reason why the in it for the tech thing works for Phantom is because it's fun, bro. They've married the technology, the innovation, and the user friendliness of Phantom. Because as a DeFi user, Phantom was my first deep dive into DeFi, and despite how complicated DeFi can be, it was so user friendly to navigate in that particular ecosystem, and it was so attractive, right? Phantom is the most attractive looking L1 out there, right? It's fun. They got cats. They got a Halloween theme. It's like, I like scary movies. I was like, bro, this is my shit. So
yeah, the Phantom ecosystem is thriving. Not only do they have a lot of DeFi apps and tools, but they have a very, very healthy meme coin market, I would argue. And there's even iterations and evolutions on that. Shout out to Boogie. Go watch the stream that he did talking about the S-Goat token. What that is pretty much an aggregator of other meme coins that allows you to earn yield on them a bit. I don't have all the details, but that was at least the elevator pitch that Boogie fed me. So it's like people are iterating on iterations here. Phantom is the hard mode, advanced, full manual controls. The people that enjoy that stuff, that's where they're at. Their total volume or their total transactions might not be the highest. If anything, I want to say that Phantom I think it's a top 100 coin, but it might be top 50 as far as
usually
market cap and volume.
It's been in the 40s. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds about right. So it's like traditional money is not over here yet. However, there have been alleged ties between the Phantom testing network and then the people that are also looking to do gas upgrades for the Ethereum network. So it's very possible that Phantom upgrades can become Ethereum upgrades at some point in the future.
That would be nifty. Ladies and gentlemen, final thoughts, and we'll do closeouts.
Only dreams.
Just one more thing. We didn't get to go over it today, but leading into next week, another bill, the FIT21 bill, is going in front of Congress on Wednesday, right before the VanEck Ethereum ETF approval. So when I said there's a lot of momentum heading into next week, this is what I meant, right? If FIT21 gets voted on, right, and it passes, this is inevitably going to hand over the keys for crypto to the CFTC and no longer the SEC. Right. So this is a big deal. So this is going to appear in front of Congress on Wednesday. So keep your eye out on that. There's a reason why I said next week is key for crypto, and be ready for some extreme volatility if this thing passes. And then by some sheer miracle, we get the Ethereum ETFs on Thursday, bro. Over for the Bears.
Yep. That might be a good thing for us to do. Like, just I'm thinking broadly here, just more for fun of the future, like towards the closings of the shows. Like, look forward to this next week, and we drop little teasers and little sprinkles, and then move forward. Z, you got something real quick, and then we'll do closeouts. We are running a little bit behind.
I will do my final thought, and then I will talk about more about the little tidbits and teasers for the upcoming shows.
There you go.
So
send it.
To tag along with Jay's point about Ethereum, we'll do a little game theory here. What are the possible scenarios, and what does that mean as an investor? So, possible scenario number 1, the ETFs get approved next week. Cool. Go to the moon. ETFs get denied. Cool. Wait until next approval, then go to the moon. Which means that trajectory is kind of up and to the right, very hard. So, I think we've been saying it for a good bit, and a lot of other people in the crypto space have been saying the same thing, which is that this is kind of last call. Like, this is kind of that last chance to get on the boat before this rocket ship just starts cranking. I'm not saying that it's going to be a smooth ride. Granted, I bet you there will be a lot of volatility throughout the rest of 2024 and 2025, especially surrounding the time when people want to call tops. I've heard multiple people talking about the idea that we're in a bit of a wave 3 right now, which means that before the end of the 2025 bull run, we're going to get a wave 4 correction and that final wave 5 pump. And there's going to be a lot of feelings and emotions and psychology about like disbelief. Is this actually happening? Is it a dead cat bounce? Or are we actually going to make new all-time highs again? So be aware, stay up to date. This train's going to run very fast once it gets going. This, again, it's not financial advice, but this might be one of the last few good buying opportunities before we start really cranking. Yep. All right. That is what I got for that. As what you can expect from us in the near future, this Wednesday, we have a very special show. We have a special guest, Donovan from DIY Crypto on YouTube. He is coming on to hang out, chat, and we want to learn all about his strategy and why he was asked to be one of the keynote speakers at multiple Pulse Chain Tour events in Las Vegas and Salt Lake City, I believe. By the way, shout out to those guys. They have gone international, so check their calendar. They might be coming to the EU very, very soon. Additionally, this Friday, we're going to be doing another book club. This time it is Psychology of Money. This is a pretty popular financial book in the space. And if I remember correctly, one of the large components of this one is it says the way that you really succeed in wealth building is by surviving as a baseline. So that's something we've been talking about before. So I think this book is going to fit right into our wheelhouse and hopefully add some new insights and depth to the knowledge we've already covered. That is what we got for special shows. Additionally, we have all the usual stuff going on in the Telegram. We have calls, we have emergency streams, and we have all the alpha. If you have questions about anything we talked about here, go hit us up in there. I know this was a dense stream, so I congratulate you on making it through, staying awake, and also if you have been taking notes and understand it, top hats off to you. You are probably like a 90th percentile crypto user at this point. Good job. Keep it going. Other than that, we'll see you guys back next week for another Sunday show, and we'll do more TA, news events, and cover everything we didn't cover this week. All right, over to Jay. What you got, brother?
Nothing much, man. If you guys missed out on the emergency streams, well, get in the Telegram, and you won't miss out on the alpha when it drops. Because if shit does hit the fan this Wednesday and this Thursday, you best believe that I'm going to be in that Telegram chat, letting the guys and the gals know exactly what's going on. So aside from that, you can find me at X_P90Hex and on Instagram at Agent_J Schroth. Once again, thank you guys for joining us here, whether you're joining us live or you are joining us on the replay. We know that time is your most valuable asset, and we do appreciate that you spend some of that time here with us. Until next time, Mr. Bean.
You know, I just want to say, especially for those people that are in states that don't have crypto-friendly House of Reps or Senate, you know, you can call them. You can email them. You can write them strongly worded handwritten letters, and I urge you to do so. I think that we all need to let our lawmakers know how we, the constituents, feel, because they are supposed to be, you know, having our best interests in hand. So if you're in Massachusetts, if you're in California, if you're in these places, you know, let that phone run off the hook. Write those emails, write those letters. You know, let's get out there, and just like we see Richard Hart, how many signatures signed on his behalf, on the behalf of the Richard Hart ecosystem and the Hex and Pulse Chain communities. You know, we can make a difference individually, but we have to work to do it. You know, nothing comes easy. And the same thing with crypto, right? We always talk about being self-sovereign and being self-sufficient. It's no different when it comes to what we want from our politicians as well. So maybe it doesn't do anything, but it certainly can't hurt. So get out there and not only vote, but also tell the people that are already in office what you think of them, what you think they should be doing. So that's about all I have. I got an early flight tomorrow for work, so I will be out and about as usual. But hoping I can hop on Wednesday's stream, and just looking forward to the next few weeks. Got a lot of exciting stuff happening in crypto. So keep those eyes open and keep those ears open, and tune in to the DGen Roundtable. We will keep you up to date. Will, take us out, buddy.
On that note, you guys can find me. Well, actually, first, before you do that, you can go join the DGen Roundtable at bit.ly/degenerate_roundtable. That will take you directly into our Telegram, where you guys can find us, ask us many questions. Make sure to tag us if you have anything pertinent to say. for stuff that I'm doing in the near future. I've got these cookbooks that me and my brother made. There's 50 of them in total. I've sold like probably 10 or 12 of them already. So a whole bunch of those got mailed out yesterday. So I mailed out one to you, Mr. Brendan. I mailed out some to some of my friends overseas. I mailed some to my friends all over the place. So be checking your mailbox if you guys ordered a cookbook from me. If you guys want a cookbook, then what you need to do is you need to go to will.pls.fyi. That is my link tree for the Pulse Chain domains. It's super duper cool. It has all of my socials there. What you need to do then is you need to click on the address button, and then you need to send either $10 of stablecoins, Ethereum, or Pulse Chain to that address, or $30 to that stablecoin or to that same address, either on Ethereum or on Pulse Chain. If you send me $10, then I will come and hand deliver the book to you wherever you might be. The timeline might be a little bit long because I don't know where you are and I don't know how long it will take me to get to you. If you send me $30, then I will ship it out to you, and that will be that, and it will arrive snug as a bug in a rug. So again, the link for that is will.pls.fyi. And that's how you secure a cookbook. All of my socials are inside of that little Pulse Domains Linktree thing as well. You guys can reach out to me on Twitter. You can reach out to me on Facebook, on Instagram, anything of that nature. Again, Telegram is my personal favorite one. That's how you guys can get in touch with me. We want to thank you again, like what Agent Jay said just a little bit earlier. We want to thank you guys for spending your most valuable asset with us, and that is your time. Whether you're watching us on the replay or whether you're watching us live, we appreciate you guys super duper so very much. Mrs. Producer, go ahead and get that trigger finger ready. And we want to remind you guys at home to degen responsibly.